Keith Cowing joins us now. He's a former rocket scientist and the editor of NASAWatch.com and an astrobiologist. Keith, good to see you again. Quite the summary there. For people in your field, in your line of work, how significant of a leap was 2021?
Well, John gave you a good rundown of everything pretty much that happened. But behind the scenes, there's more to it than maybe meets the eye. You heard about the commercial space flights. Well, in addition to China launching the core module of its permanent space station, we have the International Space Station. But NASA just awarded contracts to 3 companies, Blue Origin, NanoRacks, and Northrop Grumman, to start development on their own private space station. So there could be 2, 3, 4 or more space stations up there in a few years. So that sort of leverages in with being able to buy a ticket into space. So that's the up and coming thing. And I think in 2022 and 23, you'll see even more of that developing. But some other things have come to the forefront too, and that is just how do we all as a world behave when all of us want to do everything in space? You've got all these satellites up there. People are blowing some of them up, causing problems for other people. Some of these other satellites are causing traffic problems. So there's sort of an emergent property from all the good news, and that is we all maybe need to sit down a little bit and figure out exactly how we're all going to do everything together. That's kind of for me, like you said, in my field, that's the thing that people are needing to focus on now.
We've seen a rapid acceleration for China in space in 2021. Some would say in part because they had no choice to do it alone. Do you think that will change? You just talked about more cooperation. Could we see more cooperation between Beijing and Washington?
Well, I think it's inevitable, and not to get too much into politics, but that's what this is really all about. It's not rocket science that's preventing these interactions. The U.S. and Russia are not exactly sending Christmas cards to each other right now, and yet if you read in the news, we say, oh, we're going to get mad at you for this or that. The space station seems to be in its own little box that is not going to be affected by this. So, as I commonly say when I'm on your air, maybe we're learning something in space that we should apply down here on Earth. That there are some things that are very, very important that need to be focused on. So, a long answer to your short question, I do think more collaboration and cooperation is coming in the future, not less.
Look, I imagine if you've been to space, there's only a handful of people that can speak your language and share your experiences, and naturally you want to connect with those people and share your science, regardless of their nationality. But I want to talk about the private firms. So far, it's been limited to an exclusive club, those that essentially can't afford it or are getting those contracts. But what kind of market might this create for other firms, smaller firms, to join, and in what capacity? How significant of a market do you see this becoming?
Well, it's interesting because for the most part, when you see a rocket take off, you may hear 1 or 2 companies' names associated with it, but there's all these other companies that built the parts. So there's always more than meets the eye that goes into each of these launches. But right now, what you're seeing with commercial space tourism is akin to the early airline flights where you'd get on the plane, there'd be like 10 people, they'd give you champagne and so forth. And then somebody figured out how to do it cheaper without the champagne and more seats. So we're going to see that happen in space. But I think what you're also going to see is a lot of people who fly realize how special it is. And one guy who flew, Dylan Taylor, has decided that, although we don't know exactly what he paid for his ticket, he decided to donate an equivalent amount to other people and organizations interested in space and sending people into space. So I think you're going to see that these folks are knowing that this is special, turning around and sort of helping to bring everybody forth or pay it forward, as they say.